Hey guys, it's Kevin Westmeyer for Daredevil, Season 1, Episode 9, Speak of the Devil. And again, another amazing episode. Are you really surprised, though? Every episode has been amazing. And this was another amazing episode, really. It wasn't the best episode of the season, but it was definitely up there with the best ones. Especially the ending. Oh my god, I can't wait for next week's episode. For the next episode. It's gonna be awesome. But yeah, this episode has some really great stuff in it. It really, I think, was to show the struggle that Matt has with being the Daredevil. It really showed that in this episode. I mean, they kind of showed that all season, but especially this episode in general really showed how Matt deals with being the Daredevil. So let's just get in this episode because it was amazing, and I loved everything about it as usual. And just like last week, we get this really awesome, intense. We start with this really awesome scene. A red-clad Nobu, basically, we see Nobu. He's battling Daredevil. We don't know why they're fighting, and he knocks him to the floor. And the ninja then draws a Kazari Gamma, deflects one of Daredevil's thrown batons, and slashes the vigilante's arm. I mean, these two are going at, like, they're literally like just like digging into each other. It's so hard. It's a very hard scene to watch, but it's awesome. And the two men close again, and this is one of the reasons why I love this show's on Netflix, because they could never do something like this on like ABC. So Nobu then prepares to kill his opponent, and then we cut to the intro. And as I said, Daredevil, one of the best things about it is their openings. That was such an awesome opening. It perfectly made me excited for the rest of the episode. And then we start off earlier, because obviously we need to know what the hell's going on here. So we start off earlier, and I thought it was really good the way they started this. I definitely really enjoyed this scene. We haven't seen Father Lanton in a while. I think the last time we saw him was the pilot, and I thought it was really good that we saw him again, because basically he's sitting outside the church and he's waiting for Father Lanton, and he invites Matt for confession. And Matt, I wasn't really sure if he was gonna go, but he offers to basically take him out for a latte. And inside, Lanton pours latte and says that he realized that Matt was Jack Murdoch's son. He didn't know this till later. And I really like this scene here because Matt asks if Lanton really believes in the devil, and the priest suggests that the devil is a personification. And I kind of agree what he says here. He says the devil is a personification of every adversary that anyone faces, and it's really true. I mean, any villain that you face is pretty much the devil. Any person that comes in your life that gives you some sort of struggle or puts you down, they pretty much are the devil. I do agree what he's saying, and he then talks about this militia, and I thought this was just a really well done scene. The guy that plays Father Lanton, by the way, he is an amazing actor. Honestly, this scene was awesome. And he describes this militia commander that saw in Rwanda who attacked a holy man and his family to pieces, and to the point where they couldn't even like do anything about it. They didn't want to take down this man. I mean, it was that crazy. Even the military didn't even know what to do. So the priest says that he saw the devil that day, and Matt asks if he would have stopped the commander from hurting anyone again. I don't think Matt's just asking about Wilson. I think he's asking about himself personally, because he knows that to other people he pretty much is the devil. And I thought that was really good that Matt asked Nobu this question, because honestly, yeah, I can understand how Matt thinks some things he does are acts of the devil. And Matt asks if he would have stopped the commander from hurting anyone again, and Lanson wonders what he means by stopping, because he doesn't really know what he means by that. So I thought that was really good. I definitely really enjoyed that scene, and I thought that they worked really well together in that scene. I would really like to see more of Father Lanton and Matt. It's not the only scene we see them, but I definitely want to see more of them in future episodes. They really do work great together. It's something I love about the show, is just how everyone just works great together. So at the law office, Ben meets with Karen and Foggy, and the reporter warns them that Fisk has gotten them ahead of them, trying to drag them into public, because as we know, Wilson made that press conference, in the last episode, and ever since then, pretty much what I thought, that people now admire his rags to rich story. As Ben called it, he is now second hand at the second chance at second hand, I think he said. And Matt arrives and introduced himself to Ben, because of course he didn't know Ben, and Karen insists that they need to do something about this. They know that Wilson, and obviously Matt was freaking out about it in the last episode, so they know that what Wilson is doing, and they know they have to stop it somehow. And Ben says that Daredevil visited him and told him that Wilson was behind the bombing, and shows him the thumb drive that the vigilante gave him. Now, of course, I was wondering what was on that thumb drive. Clearly, Matt does not want him to see, because he's saying that it's hearsay and he has no way to verify it, and Hoffman has disappeared, and basically Leland, and I thought that was really interesting we saw. So basically, Hoffman's disappeared, and Leland and Wesley are surrounded by Wilson's security men. And Foggy asks about Confederated Global, which of course is Wesley's organization. And Ben explains that most of Wilson's income comes from that company, which is true. So Confederated Global, they would not take down Wilson because of the fact that they are all their money comes from Wilson. So if they were to take down Wilson, there goes all their money. Obviously, they're not going to do that. So Matt figures that Wilson is connected to Westmeyer Holt, and they're having a Tully Strawn arming tenants into leaving. However, Tully is incommunicado on a vacation on a distant island, and Karen continues to insist that Daredevil's on their side. She pretty much thinks that he's working with them. Foggy still doesn't believe it. He still thinks that Daredevil's some kind of madman, and I'm gonna tell you guys that right now. That's gonna end in this episode. I mean, I don't know. I'll get into it when we get to that, but wow, it was awesome the way they handled it, I have to say, honestly. The way they did that was great, really, it was. So basically, Foggy doesn't really believe what Karen is saying is true. He doesn't want to think that Daredevil is doing things for a good reason, and I kind of like seeing him not agree with her. I definitely really enjoyed that. So he wonders why the vigilante doesn't just deal with Wilson himself, which, here's the thing, it would be impossible to do that, and obviously Matt's not going to do that. And Ben suggests that Daredevil knows there are some roads a person can't come back from it. I agree with what Ben is saying there. I mean, I think that definitely is what's going through Matt's head. Plus the conversation he just had with Lanton. He doesn't want to be like a devil. He doesn't want to seem like a devil to Wilson. Because Wilson, honestly, you have to feel bad for him. I mean, he's only this way because of his father. That's why Wilson is so powerful. That's why he wants to save his city. It's all because of his father, and you have to feel bad for him because of that. Granted, Matt doesn't know any of that, but I think Matt does sort of feel some sort of, maybe just a little bit of compassion. I mean, Matt's a very compassionate person, so I could definitely see it happening. So at a dockside warehouse, Wesley assures Wilson that his poll numbers are rising and PAC donations are coming in, and Hoffman has now disappeared, and Wesley assures Wilson that they'll find him. As for Daredevil, he hasn't been as active, but Wilson figures that he's picking up his targets more carefully. So Nobu storms in, disabling Wilson's guard, and demands that the city block he promised in return for helping Wilson. And Wilson warns that a tenement in the area has proven difficult to empty, and offers any other, but Nobu is basically insisting that, he basically is insisting that his organization has to have that particular area. And I thought this was really interesting, and we saw this. He tells Wilson to do what he must, but do it quickly. And Wilson asks for his help dealing with Daredevil. And Nobu says that he knows a man with the necessary skills, and he wonders how they will find Daredevil. And Wilson says that they can play on the vigilante's emotions. So now we kind of know where this fight is coming from. What I thought was going to happen is that they're going to send Nobu to go after Daredevil as sort of like a distraction, which is honestly a genius plan if that's really what they were doing. So at the office, we actually get some really good conflict between Foggy and Karen that I definitely loved. I mean, a lot of these shows, these superhero shows, they try to paint these couples as like the perfect couple. And I like this show that even though these two aren't together, they fight like a couple, and they really do have these problems. And I like seeing that they are, not exactly agreeing. I thought that was really good. So they're arguing about whether to go after Tully. They're not really sure if it's the right thing to do. And Foggy has checked with Marcy and confirmed that Tully sold the tenement to Wilson that morning. The island the landlord is on has no extradition treaty with the U.S. So Elaine arrives, and I love the way that Foggy greeted her when he told her, where's the library? I thought that was hilarious. I mean, that little things like that, that's why I love this show. One of the reasons I love this show. She basically tells them that Confederated Global doubled their offer to the tenement residents to get them to move out, and most of them are thinking of taking it. So Matt suggests that they should just take it. Why not? I mean, pair up with Confederated Global, get them on their side. It might just be the best thing to do. But basically, Foggy's telling Elaine to stand firm and have the other residents do the same. And Elaine agrees to fight and leaves. And Matt warns that Wilson won't stop until he gets the tenements and up with an injunction. And basically, Foggy suggests that they tie him up with an injunction. But his partner warns that they won't trip Wilson up with an injunction, but suggests that they keep digging until they find a paper or a witness that will lead to the truth. So Matt tells him to do it quietly and then says that he's going to Vanessa's art gallery to examine the woman who stood with Wilson. Because obviously he wants to know, why is this woman connected to Wilson? What does she want with Wilson? What bond do they have? What connection does she have to him? I think that was a really good plan what he decided to do. That was definitely very well executed. Very well thought out, I have to say. That's something I love about Matt, is he thinks that he's very well thought out when it comes to plans. So at the gallery, Matt picks out Wilson's bodyguards with his heightened senses. And Vanessa comes over, and Matt says he's looking for art for his apartment to impress his guests. And she leads him to a painting and describes the reds in terms of both anger and love. And I like that Matt didn't really say who he was, because that's a lot better. So he basically is just kind of like spying on them in a way. I mean, he's not really saying who he is. It's kind of like the Americans where they don't say who they are. I thought that was kind of interesting. So Matt asks if she has a man in her life, claiming that if he could understand such a man, that he could understand her viewpoint on art. And then Wilson comes in, and Vanessa introduces the two men. When Wilson says that he's heard of Matt's work in Hell's Kitchen, Matt says that he's heard of Wilson's as well. And Matt notes that they're on opposite sides of a tendency case. And of course, Wilson does not know that Matt is the Daredevil. He doesn't know any of this. So he says it'll soon be settled to everyone's benefit, and the lawyer thanks Vanessa for his time and starts to go, and she wonders if he's changed his mind, and Matt says that he needs to consider the cost, and I thought that was really interesting, maybe pair up with them. I was really interested in what was going to happen there. So Matt goes to the church and has another conversation with Father Lanton, and this time he admits that he went to see the devil and discovered that he had, and I like that he told Lanton this, because it really shows how important religion is to him, and how important that, the idea of the devil is to him. He obviously doesn't want to turn into the devil, and he wants to be, he doesn't want to be the devil. He wants to be a hero, and Lanton warns that there's no such thing as absolute evil, which is true. I've said this before. There's no person that's fully good or fully bad. And I think that's really what Lanton is trying to say, is that there are good people and bad people in the world. So Matt doesn't really realize that while there are good people in the world, there are also, not everyone's 100% good, 100% bad. We all have good and bad qualities, and that's something I love about the show, is that really portrays it very realistically. It's true, because, there are bad people, but they do somewhat good deeds. Everyone does at least some good deeds in their life and some bad deeds, but it's just how we handle them. For example, someone like Wilson, picture Wilson. I mean, yeah, he's done some really bad things, but he loves Vanessa unconditionally, and he killed his father to basically protect his mother, but he did also for himself, so he could end that. So and also he's doing this to protect his city. So in some ways, he has done some very good things, and he's done some very bad things, and that goes with really anyone. I thought that was really good that Lanton said that. So he figures that Daredevil can't bring himself to commit murder, which is kind of true. He hasn't really killed anyone, if you think about it. Daredevil, the only person, he didn't really kill really anyone. The only person I think he killed was Leland, but that's because Leland, the reason he killed Leland, of course, was just because of the fact that he had to kill Leland, basically. Leland let him just leave him there. That's why he killed Leland. So, he didn't kill Leland. He basically just left him there. So, basically, Foggy calls, but Matt ignores it and tells Lanton that he knows that he's damned if he murders his enemy. However, if he does nothing, then his enemy will consume the city, and he's really torn on what to do here. He doesn't want to do something he regrets, but he knows the consequence of what happens if he doesn't kill Wilson. So Lanton says that there's a wide gap between doing nothing, and basically asks if Matt believes he has to kill Wilson, or wants to, and Matt wonders if he has already given in to temptation, and the darkness of his act has spread to others, and Lanton points out that they wouldn't be talking if that were the case, which is true. If Matt really gave in to temptation, he wouldn't be thinking about it. He's thinking about it, and he's thinking about it very carefully. So I really like that Lanton, helped him out with this. That's something I definitely love seeing. I really like seeing Lanton, in my opinion, is kind of like Stick in a way. Like, he really is a mentor to Matt, and I think that Matt needs someone like Lanton in his life. He really does, because who else can he go to talk to this stuff about? Obviously, I thought that was I really love that scene, definitely. I thought that was really well handled. So, and I don't know if Lanton knows that Matt's the Daredevil, but frankly, I don't really care. I think he does. I believe in the first episode. I think he does. I believe in the first episode he told Matt. I can't fully remember. It's been a while since we've seen his character, so I don't fully remember if he remembers if Matt's the Daredevil or not. I don't think he does, though. So, basically, Matt then returns to the office the next day and tells Karen that he didn't get what he needed from Vanessa, and Karen says that she's confirmed that the two men who attacked them from contractors' licenses just as Foggy comes in. Now, the two men work for Westmeyer Holt, which is a subsidiary of Console Global, but they've disappeared, so obviously that's not going to work. So Foggy gets out an official sign for their firm that he's made and insists that they're going to make a difference. So Karen gets a call in shock that tells Matt and Foggy that Elena is dead, and I thought that was really interesting how they just did it off screen. And I've said before, if you do a death off screen, it's a lot more effective. And I have to say, Elena, not a main character, really effective death. Really, it was. I felt bad that she had to go, but he had to kill somebody. So, and I definitely feel like we're at the point where they're just going to start killing off characters. So the trio goes to the morgue and ID the body, and Mahoney basically tells them that a strung-out junkie fled the scene with Elena's purse, and Elena had no next of kin, and Foggy says that they'll see to the funeral arrangements. So basically, she was mugged, and there was nothing she could do about it. There was no one to save her, and you can tell that Foggy feels really bad about it, because obviously he really cared about Elena, and I think Karen cares as well, and Foggy, Karen's crying while Matt clenches his fist. He knows what he has to do, and that scene was it was really sad, I have to say. I definitely really enjoyed seeing this tragedy happen to the group, because it's only going to make them stronger. It really is, and I definitely really love that. So Nobu continues to, we go now to the present, where Nobu's continuing to stab and swing at Daredevil, who manages to kick his mask off, and the Yakuza men can see that Daredevil is a worthy opponent, and it's an honor to take his life. He puts his mask back on, nods briefly, and renews his attack, and Nobu drives the spike end of the Kuziar Gamma into Daredevil's chest, drags him across the floor, and that was so hard to watch, honestly. That was hard to watch, really it was. So we then go back to earlier, and Matt, Foggy, and Karen go to Josie's to drink, considering Matt suggested it was more than just a random robbery. Just as the news interviews Wilson, he says that he didn't know Elena and that he offered the tenements money to move because he didn't believe the tenement was safe. So Foggy steps away to take a call from the funeral home, and Karen tells Matt that she hopes Daredevil goes after Wilson. She misses she's not religious and asks if Matt's Catholicism helps with, what happened with what happened. And he admits that it doesn't and goes to his apartment, and he contemplates the suitcase holding his father's boxing gear. And I thought this was a very well done scene. I definitely really enjoyed this, because at this point you don't really know what he's going to do. I mean, you know that he's going to get into a fight with Nobu, but we don't know how that starts. We don't know what caused it. I mean, I just thought it was pretty much a distraction. So, basically, I thought that was a really good scene, I have to say. So basically, and I think it was interesting they said it actually doesn't help with what he's going through, just because he has so much else in his mind right now. His main thing is, should I kill Wilson? That's what he's thinking about. He's not thinking about Elena dying. Elena dying, yeah, he's worried, but that's just something else he needs to worry about. What he's concerned about right now is, do I kill Wilson or do I let him live? And I think that's really well done. So he basically contemplates the suitcase holding his father's boxing gear and hesitates. He finally opens it. He then gets out his costume underneath it, and he later finds a dealer and beats him up for information on the junkie that murdered Elena, and he finds a junkie shooting up in an old building. He knows he has to avenge her death somehow, obviously, so he locates a wad of money in the man's coat, and Elena's purse is lying on the floor, and he beats him up until the junkie says he doesn't know who paid him, but they met him at a warehouse on Pier 81, and the vigilante tells the man to turn himself into Mahoney and heads for the pier. So Daredevil breaks into the warehouse, finds the plans to Wilson's redevelopment of Hell's Kitchen, because of course, he wants to redevelop it completely, and the vigilante suddenly hears a heartbeat start up and then go faster, and of course, if it's fast, that means they're not telling the truth, and Nobu then drops from the ceiling, and here's how we get to our fight scene. He knows Daredevil from the flight at the docks, and Daredevil insists that Stick's war isn't his. Of course, I like that we did get back to this, because I wasn't sure if we were, but now we know what Stick's war is really all about. And he wonders how Nobu hid from his senses and realizes that Nobu slowed down his heart to the point of death. That's really what he did. So Nobu warns Daredevil to treat him with courtesy, and the vigilante draws his weapon and says that Nobu will have to earn it. He knows that Nobu's working for Wilson. At this point, anyone's just working with Wilson, he's going to take out. That's really at the point that he's at. So they charge each other, and they're fighting, and basically that's how we get to our fight scene. And I really like how they brought us up to speed with that, and it was very different than what I thought. I thought that basically Wilson was going to get Nobu to go after Matt, but it's much different than that, and I'll get to what actually happens, but it actually, I thought, was even better than what I thought. So at Josie's, Foggy and Karen get drunk, and Foggy blames himself for convincing Elaine to fight and tells Karen about how he grew up in Hell's Kitchen. He and Matt became lawyers to help the people that they grew up with and wonders what they can do against somebody who owns everything, everyone, and everything. Because obviously, Wilson, that's pretty much what he is. He's like the richest man in town. He owns pretty much everything. And he doesn't really know how they can go up against him. And Karen says that they can make them pay and that they can do this. And I like that Karen was moving him with that. And I really like seeing Foggy blame himself for Elena. I mean, it was really sad to see, but it really just shows how much, how wounded Foggy really is. And I definitely really enjoyed that scene. I mean, it really shows the closeness he's had to Elena, and I definitely really enjoyed that. So, Daredevil manages to free himself. We go back right to where the fight scene left off, and now we're pretty much brought up to speed, so now we can just go back to the present. So he manages to free himself, kick Nobu back, and under-tiered, Nobu gets to his feet and tells Daredevil that he's fought well, but it's not enough. Throws his blade, and Daredevil deflects it back into an overhead light. The sparks off a puddle of gasoline, setting Nobu on fire, and Nobu renews his attack despite his pain, but Daredevil takes him down, and Nobu is dead. So I thought that was pretty crazy. Definitely, I thought that was crazy. So again, I thought that Wilson just got Nobu there to, to either take out Matt or he was going to have him distract Matt, but it's much different than what we realized. Wilson, Wesley, and Wilson's thugs come in. Daredevil realizes here that Wilson wanted him to take out Nobu. And I thought this was really interesting. I can understand what Wilson's saying. He says that he was becoming concerned. He just had to kill him. So he knows that Daredevil would kill him, so that's why he did it. So he hoped that they would take each other out, but now he has to intervene. He points out that Daredevil's emotionally weak for women and children, which I can't understand what he's saying. I mean, we know in episode 2, there was a child that was hurt. Matt tried to save immediately. He's tried to save Karen. He's tried to save Claire. I can totally understand what he's saying there. So basically, he had Elena killed to lure the vigilante to him. That's why he killed Elena. And Wilson apologetically says that Nobu forced his hand and he took no pleasure in Elena's death. And that's why he had to kill him, because obviously he wasn't on board with the plan. So Daredevil vows to kill him, and I thought he was just going to kill Wilson right there, but I'm like, no, we're on episode 9. There is no way Wilson is dying. And Wilson just invites him to kill him, probably just because he wants to see if he actually wants to do it. And this whole time, he has a smile on his face. You know that Wilson is not serious about this. He has, like, a huge smile on his face. I mean, he's just eating up, like, what Matt is saying. So, Daryl tries to attack the towering figure, but Wilson easily beats him down and keeps beating him before tossing him across the room. And he tells Wesley to finish it, and his assistant draws his gun, and Daredevil manages to deflect the shot with a thrown item, leaps out a window into the water below. Wilson tells Wesley to put Matt on the docks and finish Daredevil off and let Nobu burn. I thought that was crazy that we saw that, and I really didn't know what was going to happen there. And I love the way this episode ends. This might be my favorite ending to the show so far, honestly. I think this ending was just, it had to happen, honestly. This was something that it just had to happen in this episode. Because Foggy goes to Matt's apartment. He's pounding on the door. He's like, open up, open up. He says they have to keep going and make Wilson pay. And they have to, they have to continue this. He pretty much thinks that Matt's just unmotivated right now. So he hears a crash, and he goes in, and he knows that there's something going on. He doesn't know what's going on, but he knows there's something going on. So he finds Daredevil, he's bloody and broken, and he thinks that Daredevil got into a fight with Matt. That's what he thinks. He thinks that Daredevil did something with Matt, and Foggy's starting to call 911, but then hangs up and removes his mask, because obviously he doesn't even know what's fully going on here. And basically, when he removes the mask, he realizes that Matt is Daredevil, and that's how the episode ends. So now we know why it's called Nelson versus Murdoch next week, because obviously Foggy just found out that after all these years, Matt has been Daredevil, and he obviously is going to feel betrayed now. I can totally understand why Foggy's going to feel betrayed, and I thought that ending was perfect. This was something that Foggy needed to know, and I'm very happy that he did find this out, because I was worried that they were going to have to wait till the finale, but now I thought this was probably the perfect time for Foggy to find out, because obviously he's at his most vulnerable side right now. This was probably the best time for him to find out, and I love that. So overall, guys, as usual, an amazing episode. There's a lot to talk about, definitely. Wilson, I think Matt's eventually going to kill Wilson. I think that he's going to kill Wilson at some point, but right now, obviously, he went down. Like, Wilson took him down. Matt really, I think Foggy, I don't know if even Foggy's going to help him. I think Foggy's going to feel really betrayed by Matt. I don't even know if Foggy's going to want to talk to Matt after this. He's probably going to be really pissed at him, but we'll have to see what happens there. I mean, obviously, they're going to have to deal with this conflict on their own. Hopefully, they can make amends. Hopefully, they can. I think they can, but we'll have to see what happens there, because I think that's really interesting overall. is Foggy now going to tell Karen and Ben the secret? Because obviously they need to know just as much as Foggy needs to know. I mean, if Foggy knows, he needs to tell them. Obviously, I think he will. But are they going to find out? I'm very interested in seeing how they find out, how he tells them. I think that's something I'm definitely looking forward to, seeing if he tells Foggy and Ben and Karen, which I'm pretty sure that he will. I love seeing the bond between Matt and Father Lanton. One of my favorite parts of the episode by far were their conversations. I definitely feel like Matt needs to take that advice to heart, obviously. I like that he's contemplating whether or not to kill Wilson. And honestly, at this point, I don't think he really can kill Wilson. Wilson's at his most at his most heroic point right now. Everyone else, Wilson is a hero. I mean, they don't know that Wilson killed Elena, so to everyone else, he's pretty much this big hero, and I'm really wondering what Matt's gonna do about this. I mean, there is the possibility that maybe they could find the guys from Westmeyer Holt, because obviously they disappeared. Is Matt going to find them? Is he going to try to ally with them? I mean, obviously he needs to try to build his own army, because he has, like, 5 guys, while Foggy has, like, the whole town. It's pretty much Matt, Foggy, Karen, Ben versus the whole town right now. That's pretty much what it is. And after this, I don't even know if Foggy and Karen are on his side after this. I really don't know. So, Elena's death, as I said, was really well done. I'm very interested in seeing what Foggy's going to do there. I definitely feel like he will help out Matt, because obviously Matt's trying to avenge Elena's death, but I think Matt does need to explain to Foggy what's going on. There's definitely a lot of conversations need to have, and I'm very interested in seeing how they handle it, because I hope they handle it well. I hope they don't handle it as, it's something stupid. I hope it's handled really well, definitely. I'm very interested in seeing what's going to happen there. I'm sure it'll be handled well. I have yet to have any problems with this show, so I'm pretty sure it's going to be handled perfectly. But overall, guys, another amazing episode. Absolutely loving this show. We have 5 episodes left, and I can't believe we have 4. Actually, no, 4 episodes left. I can't believe we have 4 episodes left. This season has gone by so fast, and I've been watching once a week. I mean, I could have finished like weeks ago, but I've been watching once a week, and that's how fast it's going. That's how much I'm loving this show. And yeah, by the way, guys, Sense8 does premiere next week. I'm sure you guys are wondering, are you going to review Sense8? I am not reviewing Sense8 till I'm done with Daredevil. When I'm done with Daredevil, then I will review Sense8. That I promise. That's what I'll do. Because I'm sure you guys are going to ask me Friday, are you reviewing Sense8? Why aren't you reviewing the pilot of Sense8? I'm reviewing Sense8 when I'm done with Daredevil. I'm taking it one Netflix show at a time. And I basically I consider Netflix like a TV network for original series. And of course, if this Daredevil was on a TV, was on network, then Sense8 wouldn't start up till after Daredevil ended. So that's what I'm doing, basically. I'm considering it as how I would a TV series. But that's basically my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys saw this episode. Overall, guys, another amazing episode. I can't wait for next week's episode, and I will see you guys in my next video, which will be for another classic movie review, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.